exactly. I'm untouchable, uncrushable. Running in a 600, running in a 600. Untouchable, uncrushable. Running in a 600, running in a 600.
Welcome to another edition of Punch to the Face Radio. I am your host, Brandon Stubbs. Here this week we will be recapping UFC 196, interview with Ashley Greenway of Invicta FC, and as well as a brief recap of action from Bellator and Titan FC. But right now we are all pretty much still in shock, scratching our head, in amazement of what was the spectacle that was UFC 196. Now, as we all know, Nate Diaz took this fight short notice for Rafael Dos Anjos when he broke his foot to face Conor McGregor. McGregor was moving up for featherweight, was originally going to fight at lightweight. The fight ended up being contracted at welterweight with Nate Diaz. You know, the fight definitely saved the card here for UFC 196, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. In the fact of these two really brought it, and the short amount of time they had to promote the fight, they gave us both men gave us tons of sound bites and crazy things that they said leading up here to the contest, and they went in the ring and delivered. Early on, they both pretty much stood toe-to-toe and hit each other. Nate Diaz did suffer a pretty nice cut above his right eye towards the middle part of the opening round. It was bleeding rather profusely, and it got a lot worse in the second round. But he was able to find his rhythm. He got off to a slow start, as he openly admits, and just pretty much went to town after that. He was able to land some shots, get the takedown, and then choke out Conor McGregor in the second round. Humble in victory, if you will. Here's a soundbite from Nate Diaz.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
This is a fight you asked for. After you beat Michael Johnson, you got it. Was there anything coming into this fight? You only had less than 2 weeks' notice. Was there anything that you didn't expect that happened here tonight?
No, I knew it was going to be a slow start for me because, I'm always in shape, but if I'm not in the best shape, I got to start slow and pick up as I go. So I kind of expected it to go like it did. I expected to dodge and slip a little more. I didn't have a lot of sparring for this camp. Like, by the full camp, I don't think I would have been touched. But he had some good punches and he landed them, so it was good on his part.
So going into the round, this final round, you caught him with one shot and you saw him buckle. What did you think then?
I just knew, like I said, I knew I was going to start off slow, and as soon as I got warmed up and felt it was going to start turning around, it was going to, and it happened a little earlier than I expected.
Nate, this was a spectacular victory, even more spectacular given the fact you didn't have a training camp for this. Congratulations, sir. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm an athlete, a warrior. We should always be ready to fight everybody on our worst day. And I want to give a shout out to my brother Nick Diaz, the main man. They're the new king of this now, and it's right here, all right? Gilbert Melendez, Chrome Great Team, my boy Chris Avila, Jake Shields, Richard Perez, my team, thank you very much. Thank you, UFC, Daniel Lorenzo. Hey, and right on, Conor McGregor for taking the fight, too, on short notice, and we got it done.
Nate Diaz, thank you for being awesome.
Gotta love that Nate Diaz, don't you? Well, in Conor McGregor's case, Conor, was also very humble in defeat. Was congratulating Nate Diaz after the fight, and we heard him giving praise also in the post-press conference, but saying, it's a fight. But then he also went on to, he was asked in the post-fight press conference what are his next steps, or what do he think is next for him, and he gave his take after suffering his first loss here under the UFC banner.
I haven't stopped in a long time. It seems. I mean, it's been a crazy couple of years. I've only really burst onto the scene and climbed all the way, but I'm still really enjoying it. I'm not tired of it. Now, go back down to the featherweight division. I'd imagine will be what is next. I don't know. I still feel UFC 200 is there for me, but I'll go back and see it. I'm not cut. I'm not. I'm simply heartbroken, and that's it. I'll pick myself up and we'll figure it out in the morning.
Thanks, Scott.
Now, as for the title fight that was a part of UFC 196, that was for the Women's Bantamweight Championship, where Holly Holm was making her first title defense and stunning the world and knocking out Ronda Rousey this past November. She took on formidable Miesha Tate. The fight was interesting. You know, it was definitely, like I said, this fight and along with the McGregor and Diaz helped save the card. It was kind of a slow start with really, you know, Miesha using her game plan and playing smart and not rushing in and giving Holly Holm an opportunity to counter in the first round. It was kind of even to score because both did little to nothing really to push the pace. You know, Miesha did do a good job of maintaining the center of the octagon. So I can see it going either way that opening round. The second round was a different story. Miesha was finally able to get a takedown in the second round. She was able to get in a rear naked choke, which, you know, to Holly Holm's credit, did a phenomenal job in the second round fighting that off and not letting that hold get locked in for the submission. So definitely, you know, after 2 rounds, you could see it either being 1-1 or 2 up for Miesha Tate. But in the third and fourth round, it's when, you know, Holly was able to keep her distance, use the body kicks, kicked Miesha quite a few times in the boobs. Pretty huge target, therefore. Was able to land a couple of straights. Miesha did kind of suffer some puffiness above her left eye. Didn't really bother her too much. Luckily, it didn't close up, didn't get too much more swollen. But, you know, definitely was able to control the pace. So at that point, going into the fifth round, you could either see it being 2 up or, you know, 3-1 for Holly Holm. Like I said, the first round was really the only questionable round. So the fifth round starts, and, you know, and again, you know, Holly's kind of doing what she's doing best. She's, you know, just using her distance. She was winning the fight at that point, most of us had thought, and was looking like she was going to be on her way to a unanimous decision win. Well, Miesha said screw it and just finally went for it. She was able to get a takedown after scrambling. Holly did her damnedest to get up. Miesha ended up getting her back throughout that scramble, got her back and was able to lock in the rear naked choke, and Holly Holm went to sleep. Instead of tapping, she literally was put to sleep. And that was at the 3:30 mark there of the fifth round. So, you know, it was 90 seconds away from Holly Holm being able to retain her championship more than likely. Or at least it was going to be, at worst, a draw. Because some were thinking about maybe that second round being a 10-8 round. But, you know, she ended up getting put to sleep there at the end of the, like I said, 3:30 mark there of the fifth round. Very interesting fight, and then obviously the whole time, and I got to say something about that just kind of irritated me, and I'm glad Joe Rogan did not feed into it. Very, very often throughout the fight, you know, Mike Goldberg kept bringing up Ronda Rousey. What is Ronda Rousey thinking while she's watching this? What is she doing while this fight is going on? Joe Rogan, to his credit, never spoke a word when her name was brought up. He continued to talk about the fight, or it was an awkward silence until some action picked up there in the fight. He never fed into that, never said anything, never really acknowledged that statement at all. So I got to definitely tip my hat to Joe Rogan there and not feeding into that bullshit. Now, Dana White did reveal while he was on Fox Sports 1 after the fight that he did send a text message to Ronda, who wasn't watching the fight. And he told her the results that, you know, Miesha Tate was able to get the win and get the title. Her response is, it's time for me to go back to work. Now, he said he does not sure if that means if she means she's going back to work to train or if she was going back to work on a movie set. He does not look for her to fight here at UFC 200. Granted, he said he's going to definitely ask her again to see if that's something that can be done, but he highly doubts it. He's still looking at November or October for her to make her UFC return if it happens. And I'm still telling everyone that is a big, big if. I think it's an increasingly better chance now that Miesha Tate's the champion and Ronda does have 2 victories over her. But losing the way that Ronda lost and now seeing how tenacious Miesha Tate has become over these last few years, I'm not sure if I can pick Miesha Tate, you know, pick Ronda Rousey over Miesha Tate. Granted, she's got the 2 victories over her. I just don't. I've said this and I'll say it again. When they fought their second time, Miesha Tate really exposed Ronda Rousey. And since that fight and since that loss, Miesha Tate has gotten a lot better of a fighter. I think this would be a completely different story the third time around. Honestly, I just don't want to see it. I want to see more fresh faces. I think a fight with Kat Zingano for Miesha makes sense. And there's still the dark horse out there, you know, Chris Cyborg, who is under the UFC payroll. Granted, she fights for Invicta, but UFC cuts her those checks. what will actually happen there. Will that be the route that it ends up going? As far as Holly Holm, Holly, you just kind of felt a little bit bad for after the fight. She was being interviewed also on Fox Sports 1, and she just looked like she went to break down in tears, but she held it together. Says she definitely wants to be back as soon as possible. She's want to get back on the horse and just get better and learn as a fighter. She says she got fast-tracked to the title fight, but she knows that it is what it is, and she wants to get back at it and get another opportunity here soon. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Holly Holm fighting again either before or at UFC 200. I definitely see her back in the cage, back for the UFC between now and July. I guess the rest of the UFC 196 card really wasn't that great, especially the pay-per-view portion. Corey Anderson versus Tom Lawler. I will say I thought Corey Anderson won the fight, but it was not as much of a blowout as the judges saw it. I will say Tom Lawler looks way better, more aggressive at 205 pounds compared to fighting in middleweight. Amanda Nunes, who was ranked number 4 going into UFC 196, she did beat Valentina Shlevenko via unanimous decision, but she kind of struggled there in the third round and almost like she gassed out. She's ranked number 4. She wants a title shot. I don't think really looking at her, this performance that she had here at UFC 196 was not a showcase enough for people to say, hey, I want to see her in a title fight. So I think she's going to have to win another fight and probably have to do it in spectacular fashion before the UFC gives her that opportunity. So I don't think she's going to be poised to get anything for that anytime soon. Also in the card, I thought it was a great performance by Darren Elkins against Chaz Skelly, part of the prelims. Definitely a grinder, really ground hard in that fight. As well as Naran Tebley beating Eric Silva in the second round with a nice right hand. Put Eric Silva to sleep, did a face plant. Eric Silva is one of these guys. He looks the part, looks like he should be just a phenomenal fighter. But doesn't act in here in the UFC. I've said it and I say it again. I just don't think he's UFC material at this point of his career. He's 31. He's had a lot of fights in Brazil, but I just don't think he's UFC material. I want to say with the UFC, he's like 6-6 right now for them. He's lost 2 fights back to back. Granted, one of them was a split decision to Neil Magny here last summer, but I just think his time with the UFC is either drawing to a close or maybe at a close now. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him next. I would probably bet on him being on the UFC Brazil card. And if he were to lose there, I think that would probably be his last go for the UFC. But UFC also has something going here on UFC Fight Pass here this coming weekend. They'll have Invicta FC 16. And I am talking now with Ashley Greenway, who's going to be making her pro debut for Invicta FC. A veteran who's actually been, she is a veteran of the amateur ranks. She signed with Invicta here about 2 years ago, but, some circumstances, things kept her fighting amateur, and now she's going to be finally making a pro debut. She's going to be a part of the opening bout in Invicta FC 16. So here is my interview with Ashley Greenway of Invicta FC. Right now, I am joined by Ashley Greenway, a.k.a. Dollface, who's going to be finally making a pro debut here at Invicta FC 16, live on UFC Fight Pass here on March 11th. Ashley, how are you feeling here today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, no worries at all. Now, we're finally going to see you make your debut here for Invicta FC. What people don't realize is you've actually been signed since 2014 with the organization. What's kind of been the delay with them finally getting you on one of their cards?
Well, it's on my end, not theirs. So I had a couple injuries that set me back, and then wanted to make a couple more amateur fights, and lost a couple of those fights, and me and my husband just decided that it was just in our best interest for our career to just up and move and sell the gym. So that was kind of what happened in the past 2 years. So we're finally happy, super excited where we're at. We're in South Carolina, back where he's from. We're at Revolution MMA, and completely changed, and I'm super excited. I think everything happens for a reason, so I'm ready.
Well, absolutely. Now, you're going to be making your pro debut against Sarah Click. You ladies are actually going to be the opening bout of the card. Now, is there any pressure, not only with this being your pro debut, but you being the opening fight for an Invicta FC card? Because those fights typically set the tone for the night, and You got a lot to live up to because we've had some fantastic opening bouts here as of recently here for Invicta.
Yeah, I've seen that. Actually, I'm super excited. Just, I guess, from having an advanced amateur record, I've always fought late in the card, either, co-main or main event. So I'm really excited. So that means I get to get in there, get out, and watch the rest of the girls. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I mean, not only can you compete and, make your living that way, but you also get free tickets to watch the rest of the card. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great card, too. I'm so excited to be on it.
Now, like I said, with you making your pro debut here against Sarah Click, how much do you know about your opponent with you ladies both making your pro debuts? Is there much that you can find out about, or is it one of those things to where you just kind of work on yourself and just worry about whatever she brings to the table once you guys enter the cage?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, in the past, I've really studied my opponents, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So this time, and the past couple times, I've kind of left that to my coaches. That's what I love about being at this new gym with Revolution. The coaches are so advanced, and they pick the game plan for me, and it's worked these past couple of fights. So I don't know too much about her. I'm not going to really stress on that. I'm focusing on me. I know that I've worked on every single thing, so I'm ready for anything that she has.
Now, you're going to be competing in the strawweight division, which is extremely stacked, probably the most loaded division within Invicta FC. How important is it not only to get that first victory, but to do it in a kind of a spectacular fashion to kind of make yourself stand out there within the division, because there's a lot of ladies there who are all contending for a title. For yourself to gain that attention and get that buzz, how important is it to go out and just really set yourself apart?
Absolutely. I mean, it's super important. I don't really look into the future like that. That's kind of where I've messed up in the past. So I'm really just focused on this. I'm focused on, seeing my games and, everything that I've been working on. So just to go out there and, get a win would be absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to do everything that I can and everything that I've worked on. And, just push for the win and look at that in the future. I'm not really focused on that right now.
Well, as you said, you've looked ahead, and that's kind of bit you in the behind. I mean, that happens to fighters. Is that something that, as a fighter, you can't look too far ahead, and because you can't get distracted, and things can come and throw you for a loop? Is that something that you have to maintain your focus on? Having that tunnel vision, just looking one fight at a time.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Everybody's fight career is different. Mine, I was 6-1 at the time when I signed, and I never thought of losing. That's never in anybody's path, but it happens. And I think those for me have really set me back and really opened my eyes, and just there's a lot of things that I needed to work on, not only with my fighting but with myself, as far as changing teams and things like that. And so I don't regret anything that I've ever done or anything that I've ever said. I got a different path. So.
Well, absolutely. Now, how important is it with you being a female fighter that Invicta FC is a platform that is around for you ladies to go to this, going to, definitely specifically look at you ladies and make sure that what's in the best interest for you and put you on that right career path? How important is that you have that in mixed martial arts today and not have to, worry about these other promoters who are maybe more concerned with the male fighters than they are with the female fighters?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super blessed and super honored that Invicta picked me up, a couple of years ago, and especially being on this card. As far as other promotions, I've actually been blessed. I've fought for great promotions, and they've looked after me, and all the female fighters that come through there. I guess that's maybe just from being out of the Carolinas, out of North and South Carolina. Every promotion around here just really focuses on their females. It's not just the males around here. I do see a lot of that happening, across the world and stuff. But for me, I've been pretty lucky, so I don't have any complaints in that.
Now, one thing we definitely want the fans to know is you have started a GoFundMe account to help pay for your medicals to get prepared here for the fight. That's a side of fighting a lot of fans don't see and don't know much about. Kind of tell us about, what's all involved with you before you can even get into a fight, having to cover those medicals and get all that together.
Oh, yeah, wow. So that was actually sprung on me, too. I was like, oh, my God. But yeah, I mean, especially I guess with Las Vegas, because I mean, like around here with the pro circuit, You know, it's just your typical, your blood in your eye, you know, like every other fight, especially for pro fighters. So getting that thrown on was, you know, it was overwhelming. But I have an amazing support. I mean, it's absolutely blown me away. I've raised so much money, and I'm just like beyond grateful. I can't even tell you, but it's super expensive. But people's come through and they've really helped out, and you know, I still got it up and going, and you know, I'm almost there with it. But having that stress off me is it's so relieving. Because I mean, I'm sure not everyone's blessed like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. As we record this, you know, you're very close to your goal for that, so we want to make sure that the fans definitely go to that GoFundMe account. We'll make sure we tweet that out to everybody to let them know about that. Now, before we go, we want to make sure that you give a shout out to the sponsors who are also helping you get prepared here for your pro debut live in Las Vegas, out of all places. I mean, you're in the fight capital of the world now. That's big.
And it's so big. It's such a huge card. There's so many awesome girls on that card. I was blown away when I got the call. So, my sponsors as of right now, and I'm still looking for those too. So, if anybody out there wants to get on Team Dollface, just let me know. But as far as that, Martial Arts Life, they're doing a walkout shirt, and he's been there, you know, for a couple months, and I really appreciate everything he's done. And Demaki, he's been with me since the first day that I signed with Invicta. I love him, and I love his support. Just picked up Lightning mouse guards. Super excited to have them. Moxie Fight Hair, she takes care of my hair for all my fights. Harper Avery, I appreciate all the donations and help that she's done for me. The fight doctors, they're a huge support out of my gym. If it wasn't for them, I don't even know. And of course, my gym, Revolution MMA, everybody out there works super hard, and they've prepared me for this fight, and I can't thank them enough. And Howard Filler with Zion Bands, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait for finally meet him and get the work when I get down to Invicta.
Well, absolutely. Again, you're going to be making that pro debut opening fight here in Invicta FC 16 live on UFC Fight Pass March 11th, Trinidad Pavilion inside the Tropicana. I can't stress enough to sponsors. This is a great opportunity to sponsor a young fighter who's going to be making her debut, and not to mention, you're going to be on Fight Pass. Who doesn't love Fight Pass? And not to mention, I mean, and I got to say this. Yeah, and I have to say this, and I've said this, you know, numerous times before, as someone who's actually been able to cover quite a few of the first and Invicta cards and some of the recent cards as well. Invicta doesn't put on events that suck. So by no stretch of the imagination or is anyone going to miss any kind of action. This is going to be jam-packed with just so much great fights and young fighters. And Ashley is a prime example of that. So I encourage anyone, if you don't have Fight Pass, to sign up for it to catch that card here on March 11th. So anything else, Ashley, you want to give a shout out to anybody else or anything else that you got on your mind here before we go?
Yeah, just a special thank you to Julie and Shannon. I mean, if it weren't for you guys and believing in me and my talents, I wouldn't be where I'm at for y'all. So thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to fight on such a big card, especially for my pro debut. I can't thank you enough. I'm super excited.
Well, absolutely. Ashley, we will see you in action again here on March 11th on UFC Fight Pass. We appreciate you taking our time with us. I love the Southern accent. Don't ever change that for anyone.
Unfortunately, it's not going anywhere.
You know, we love that Southern charm, but we know you're not going to bring that to the cage. You're going to bring the violence, and we also love that as well. And if anyone hasn't seen Ashley in action, make sure you go check her out on YouTube. Just YouTube Ashley Greenway. You'll see pretty much all of her fights on YouTube, so you can get familiar with her before she makes her debut. But again, we appreciate you taking out time with us here on Punch to the Face.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries at all, and best of luck here on UFC Fight Pass here for Invicta FC 16. Best of luck, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Big thank you to Ashley for taking out time to talk with me. Here to close the show, we also had fights this weekend here from Bellator and from Tate FC. I'm going to be completely honest. Neither one of these cards did much for me. I literally was falling asleep throughout both of them. I will say, for Bellator 151, we saw what they're calling a changing of the guard. Now, one thing with Bellator that they're doing here now is they're really pushing the angle of the old versus the new. The old fighters, or some of the guys who have been with Bellator for quite some time, and the new regime, as they say, the signees, the new big free agents, and some of the young up-and-coming fighters. And they called the fight between Darian Caldwell and Joe Warren a passing of the torch. As Darian Caldwell was able to get a rear naked choke submission win in the opening round against Joe Warren. Caldwell definitely looks to be a legit contender in the bantamweight division, so he looks good there. He was the only stoppage there on the main card. The rest of the card just really is not worth even repeating, truth be told. And kind of the same thing in regards to the prelim card. The prelim card had a lot of action, but still, nothing to really be enthused about. Bellator won't be back until they're back in April, and they're actually going to be live from Italy with Bellator 152. Brett Primus and Patricky Pitbull Ferrari are going to be the headline, along with Brian Rogers, who's going to be over there against Alicia Sakaro, former UFC veteran. So those are going to be the fights over there in Italy, but that won't be here until next month. So they got a month and a half break before we see anything else here from Bellator. So Bellator is a little bit quiet. One thing that they did do over the weekend is during the same time of UFC 196, they did their counter-programming, replaying Bellator 149 with the Kimbo Slice Day 5,000 fight, and along with Shamrock and Gracie rematch. I don't know how good those numbers did rating-wise. I will be interested to hear how that goes over there. And as well, we had Titan FC 37 that also went down on UFC Fight Pass Friday. And it wasn't entertaining. I'm just going to say that. It was a night of decisions. The fights just seemed to go on and on and on. You did get in your main event, you have Ricky Solomon, who's a guest, Ricky Solomon, who was a guest here on the show. He did lose for the first time in his career against Anderson Dos Santos. The problem with that is Anderson actually missed weight. So Ricky had an opportunity to actually win the vacant championship belt. He couldn't since he lost. So the belt's now pretty much, it's in limbo. Brent Johns was the champion, but he ended up getting injured. So the belt was vacated. So this was actually going to be a vacated championship fight for the championship there. But now with him losing, I don't know. I don't know if he now gets a shot at Brett Johns at a later point. If Brett Johns is, still going to fight at the Titan FC banner, we don't know. So now their whole hopes is just, everything's all in limbo now for that belt. Very odd. Also in the other championship fights, you had Andre Harrison, who was also a guest on the show, along with Steven Seiler. He ended up retaining his featherweight championship in a questionable split decision win. I could see it either way, truth be told, but I think Harrison did enough to get the edge there, so he ended up retaining his featherweight championship. He's still now undefeated. Tim Elliott beat Pedro Nobre via unanimous decision to retain his flyweight championship. Gotta wonder at what point is Tim Elliott going to get a call back for the UFC. I think now he's either 3-0 or 4-0 underneath the Titan FC banner since getting released from the UFC. Flyweight division is not the deepest for the UFC, so I could see them definitely reaching out to him here soon. Pat Healy, another UFC veteran, got a win on the card. EJ Brooks, I want to say Bellator veteran as well. He got a win on the card. But like I said, it was just not a lot of stoppages. Only 3 stoppages throughout all the fights, but nothing that was overly memorable for them. Now, we don't know when they're going to be back at it here with the next Titan FC card. And as far as the championships go, but this was their first event here of 2016, and nothing really overly stuck out. So we'll see if they can give it another go here in a better show here on their next card here later this year. That's all we got here for this week. Like I said, man, still somewhat in shock of what I saw here at UFC 196. Voice is kind of raspy and sore from yelling at the TV, seeing Nate Diaz choke out Conor McGregor. Was just completely shocked by that, and Holly Holm getting choked out by Miesha Tate. So still in shock by all that, so just bear with me. Obviously, the week goes on. I'll have more stuff and more takes on that, so make sure you follow me on Twitter at punch_2theface. And as well, feel free to shoot me an email at brandon@punchtotheface.com. Until next time, Everybody stay safe, stay blessed, and I'm out.